So, welcome back for another exciting episode of Erotic Wisdom with Mrs. Love and Sarita. Ma Ananda Sarita is today here with me. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for seeing me. I feel really, really touched and really honored.
It's wonderful to connect.
Thank you, thank you. Really beautiful to be here with you in your presence. Thank you for welcoming you in your home. I feel like a newbie. I've just arrived in Bali in just about a month, and I connected with Amanda and with Ananda. After 3 days, I think I joined a group. You were taking
Yes.
us to a water temple,
Yeah.
so I feel like you're my mother initiator into this holy island, the island of the gods. And so here we are, just having a conversation. Let's see what arises.
Okay.
And so I assume that everybody knows Ma, but so I'm not going to give you too much of a big introduction. But Ma, it's a great mentor. You've been a mentor of mine without even knowing me. I've been following your teachings online, and you are, for me, a pioneer of the work with Tantra. Just after Osho, you were part of the for, the forerunner of what's now is a big current of Tantric awakening. And so I really honor you as an elder in this current. So I'm going to maybe let you introduce Tantra. How would you present Tantra? What is Tantra?
So I think as I'm introducing it, it's good to clear up some misconceptions. And I give you an example. One time I was invited to San Diego in USA, and I was teaching a Tantra group. And the people in there were very, very shocked that Tantra has something to do with spirituality. They were believing that it's just about polyamory and play parties. And I was saying to myself, oh my God, now how do I convey to these people the depth and breadth of Tantra, what it actually is? So I chose to explain the word Tantra, what it actually means in Sanskrit, because I think that's a very beautiful indication, very powerful indication of the actual lineage of what Tantra is about. So maybe I can explain that.
Yes, please. Yeah. Yes.
In Sanskrit, every word has approximately 5 different meanings, and it depends the context and how you're using the word, what kind of energy or symbolism will come through that word. So in Tantra, one of the meanings is to weave. Now just imagine you're weaving a cloth, you have vertical threads, you have horizontal threads, and through the process of weaving, it becomes one whole cloth. Now this is very symbolic because within the human being, we have the vertical line, which is linking us to spirit. That vertical line that links our sexuality to our spirituality. And we also have the horizontal line, which is our instinctual nature. It's our hedonistic desires. And this exists within every human being. Now, a lot of people believe that they should choose one or the other. So there's one path that says eat, drink, and be merry. There's no tomorrow. Let's just celebrate while we can. And there's another path. We need to discipline ourselves. We need to attain to spirituality. We need to transcend the body. But in Tantra, we are weaving together these two different aspects within ourselves. And in fact, in Tantra, we weave together any two opposites, whether that's male and female, birth and death, sex and spirit. Just think of any two opposites, and as you weave these together, you will discover godliness. It's an alchemical transformation that happens just by bringing two opposites together. And of course, Tantra will access this through methods of meditation. So another meaning of the word Tantra is methods of expanding consciousness. Tantra is based on methods, methods of transformation and meditation. And another meaning of the word Tantra is transforming poison into nectar. Now, this is a very powerful meaning. And basically, that's indicating that you take anything that is in our human experience, even those things which normally we consider poisonous, like some people consider our base animal instinct is a kind of poison that we have to transcend.
Yeah.
Or people think there's certain emotions that we shouldn't have, like anger, fear, jealousy, etc. So in Tantra, we simply bring a meditative and loving awareness to anything that we are, and through that process it will automatically be revealed in its divine potential. So let's take anger, for example. If you go into anger as a meditation, you will find out that behind the anger is hidden your original spontaneity, what you actually felt like doing, but maybe you sat on that energy, you repressed. So then it festered inside and it became anger, finally. Anger tells us break down the walls and move our energy, become who we actually want to become.
Yeah, it's an unexplored passion.
Yes, and the same is true with our sexuality, because as we all know, sexuality can go into a downward spiral leading to depravity, because there are many depraved sexual kind of activities that people indulge in. However, if you bring a meditative awareness to this, it actually opens a portal into your fullest potential as a human being, including the great cosmic orgasm.
Yes.
So it all depends on how you want to play the game. Now, if you apply Tantra methodology, you can literally rise in love. You can bring this same sexual energy through the entire chakra system, opening all the lessons and life potentials that you carry inside. And this is simply a mind-blowing experience. And the wonderful news is it is easily accessible. Like when I do groups, people are quite amazed. Oh my God, how did it happen so easily that I went into such a bliss? This is because it's your nature. And all we're doing through Tantra practices is reconnecting with and remembering your true nature.
And loving it.
And loving
giving
it.
it space.
Giving it space, having compassion towards yourself.
Yeah.
And I would say one of the foundations of Tantra is weaving together the masculine path of meditation and witnessing with the feminine path of love and devotion. Now, we all have an inner male, inner female. So when we tap into both of these paths and we start weaving them together, it is the most potent elixir that exists. It's magic.
Listening to you is like drinking this elixir. I have to say, I am absolutely mesmerized. I love your depth and your poise, and there is such a sense of calmness that exudes from you. Yeah, it really feels you've been living everything you're speaking.
Yes.
You not walking the talk, but you dancing the talk.
Yes. Dancing. That's how I came to Osho, actually, through dance.
And tell us a little bit more about you dancing with Osho.
So I'll share with you a very, I would say, quite personal experience. And it was actually one of my first spiritual awakening experiences.
How wonderful.
So I was 9 years old.
Oh.
And from the age of 4, I was passionate about finding the essence of life. I really wanted to find it. And so at the age of 9, I thought, I can't wait anymore. I must find it immediately. So I sat under a tree and I decided I'm not moving from this tree till I find what I'm searching for. And it's good to understand in this context, my family was atheist. So I had no religious conditioning. Maybe
That's
I had
wonderful.
an anti-religious conditioning.
Yeah.
So I was fresh and virgin in that sense. And so I sat under the tree and I just willed that I'm going to find the essence of life. And I found myself going down a dark tunnel leading to a velvety black void. And I hurtled into this void like at lightning speed or beyond light speed maybe. And I went into a kind of vortex and I landed into what I knew was the center of the universe. And that center contained a sound. Now, of course, I know that sound is what we know of as Om. At that time, I didn't know. It was just this incredible, pulsing, reverberating, soundless sound, which I knew to be the elixir or the very source of all of life, the essence of life, from where everything comes to where everything returns. And this was filling me with such inner ecstasy and bliss. There was, in fact, no me anymore, just the sound. And after some time, I was sensing into, okay, so the essence of life is made of sound, but sound is made of vibration. So at the essence of all is a vibration. And then I sensed, okay, if I go with this vibration, that will become a movement, a dance. And so then when I came back, slowly coming back from that space, I understood that my path in life must be to discover this dance, which is at the source of all. And so when I was 15, I left my hometown. I went hitchhiking. I went to New York. And I had passionately embraced dance as my path. So while I was in New York, I got a scholarship for modern dance. I was studying ballet. But I felt it somehow hollow. There was not that deep reservoir of the soundless sound in it. So one day I decided, okay, I'm going to study Indian dance. I don't know, some inner guidance brought me there. And I entered the Indian dance studio. And there was a statue of Nataraj, the Lord Nataraj, this is Shiva, dancing the creation of our world into being, of our universe into being. And the moment I saw the statue, I almost fainted. And I asked the teacher, what is this? What is this? She said, this is Lord Shiva dancing the world into being, or dancing the universe into being. And I was in a kind of shock. And I believe I was recognizing that from my past life. And I immediately knew I have to go to India. This is where I will find the true essence of life, through the dance. So after that, when I was 16, I left for India. I hitchhiked all through Europe, through the Middle East. In those days, you could do that. I reached India. I dived into Vipassana meditation. And then after about a month or two, I met Osho. And the first time...
Pune?
No, that was in Mumbai. He hadn't yet started his Pune ashram. So that was in 1973.
Oh, right.
I was 17 years old.
I was 3 years old.
And so I was initiated by him. But my first meeting with him was absolutely phenomenal because I recognized him as the Lord of the dance. I knew he has the secret because the way he moved, his gestures, the way he sat, the way he walked, the way he spoke, it was carrying that reverberation which I had experienced at 9 years of age. So I simply knew he is my dance teacher. And that sounds incredible because he was a guru, but I knew he's my dance teacher. And indeed, he did initiate me into different dance forms. For example, he told me to do Sufi whirling for 2 hours every day. And I did that for 6 months. So he said I needed to whirl for 2 hours outside in nature, like under a tree, And then after 2 hours, I could fall down and lay on my belly with the naked belly against the Mother Earth. So this was an incredibly powerful meditation. And he really emphasized dance. He said that the dancer needs to disappear into the dance till only the dance remains. So this became a guiding light for me, and I threw myself into this kind of free flow of becoming the dance. And not only that, of course, he guided me into Tantra meditation, either alone or later on when I got married with a partner. And
you got married at the ashram?
Yeah, at 19 years of age.
Wow.
I married Osho, married us. He blessed our marriage. He gave us gifts. He gave us the inscription for our ring, etc.
Okay.
And then he proceeded to guide us very deeply on the Tantra path. And this was super powerful, an incredible initiation, and one which is such a blessing that I can't help but share the fruits of what I experienced through being guided by him.
Yeah, I strongly feel this. This is an aspect of your presence. I feel there is a driving force inside of you that can't help but sharing. I mean, you're very busy. We are here in Bali. I see at her calendar. I'm so honored she can even see me now. She's in the middle of a festival. She's teaching group. And I really, it's inspiring for me. I made me reflect that you must be fulfilled by what you received with Osho. Now it's an overflow. It's just a waterfall.
Yes, it's just an overflowing, because basically I worked on myself for 16 years, just going in, just working on myself. I had that luxury. This is incredible now if I can contemplate that.
I just want to ask you a question in your story that I found so fascinating. Your parents, amongst all of this, when you were 16 and you said, I'm going to India, how did you manage that? Were they happy, angry? Did you have to leave home? Or did you still have maintain a relationship with them? Did they come to the wedding in India?
So I just share a kind of extraordinary story that my mother told me, because later on, a few years ago, basically, I asked my mother, why did you allow me to leave home at the age of 15? And she even baked me a bannock. This is an Irish tradition, and my ancestry is from Ireland. So she baked me a bannock. She gave it to me as a good luck, blessing, and then she let me go. So I asked her a few years ago, why did you let me go? Because that looks very unusual for a parent to let their daughter go at the age of 15.
And in those days, there was no cell phone, no email.
No.
You go. Maybe we hear from you in 3 months when you do a collect call from somewhere, but the trust of a parent then. Incredible.
So I asked her, what is the secret behind it? And she told me that when I was in her womb, she had a dream that she gave birth to a butterfly, and soon after the butterfly was born, it flew across the world, across the sea to the other side of the world, and found paradise, and then invited her to come. And so she said, because of that dream, she always knew I would leave home early. She knew that wherever I went, I was going to find paradise, and that she would be benefited. And this is exactly what happened, because I reached Osho. I wrote to my mother, I wrote to my sister, I said, please come, I found it. And at that time, I didn't know about her dream. But I said, I have found it, you must come. And then after 9 months, both of them came. They were both initiated by Osho.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
And so this was an incredible festival of joy and such a divine reunion to happen in the presence of the Master.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. That wasn't a rebellious journey, but was just a journey of love.
And I felt during my entire journey that I was being guided by angels. And as I told you, my family was atheist, so I never imagined this could have something to do with my mom. but I was feeling like I'm divinely supported and guided. There were many instances where my life was saved by some kind of miracle. And so later on, I was talking with my mom about it, and she said, yes, I was praying for angels to guide you every day that you were born. And even thinking about it now, I feel tears because the mother's love. And she never told me this. She was just silently calling angelic beings to protect her daughter. And I was hitchhiking alone through the Middle East. I mean, this is very strong process.
Of course, from America to India in those years, it's you don't know where you're going. There's not so much communication. And now we know everything about everywhere, and it's a real journey of faith.
And I didn't know that Osho existed, so I was really going into the
unknown.
Exactly. Complete unknown.
Exactly. That's so true. You weren't going with a goal at the end of your journey.
And I believe that something divine was protecting me because I had such strong experiences with this, where I was literally saved from the jaws of death a few times. And incredible.
Wow, what a story. It's when you were telling about your attraction to the dance, I saw me, because I also started dancing, and I also find the Tantra through classical Indian dance.
Wow.
So I also had this deeper connection, and although I was familiar with Tantra before, I really deepened when I also went to India. I studied Odissi style in Orissa.
Beautiful.
And I always found that the dance it's a beautiful symbol of life. Yes. The dancer is the human being living. And life was never meant to be so static as we make it appear now, but always a little bit undulatory.
Yes.
Like what you spoke earlier about the weaving, taking a little bit of this and mixing it with that, and then the under and the above, and the dancer is at the center of everything that spins around. Wow, thank you. And so I want to ask you also another question that often I ask on this podcast, because it's called Erotic Wisdom. And I'm curious if you remember, I mean, you shared this experience as a child, which in some way, with the language I use in relation to eroticism, it could be considered an erotic experience. But I would just wonder if you remember, when was your first erotic experience as a child? Meaning also the eros of life. That, if you have a specific moment that you remember.
Yes, it was also the moment of, I would say, my original trauma. Like a very traumatic experience, because I was coming out of the bath. It was a beautiful morning. The sun was shining. So I think I was about 2.5 years old. And my mother was taking me out of the bath, and I escaped from her arms and ran naked outside because I couldn't resist. And I was having some kind of psychedelic trip, basically. I was so high, feeling the cleanliness of my body, like the touch of the water, and then coming outside, the kiss of the sun. There were red berries on the bushes, and birds were chirping, and butterflies were flying, and I was dancing, literally jumping and dancing in ecstasy. And I can never forget that moment. It was just so incredible. And then suddenly a monster appeared in front of me in the form of my elder brother, who looked to me like a black cloud. He was full of anger, and he was screaming and shouting at me, "How dare you come out of the house naked? This is disgusting. Never do this." So, and the shock was so profound that it really destroyed something inside of me. And it took me quite some time to heal myself of that wounding that happened in that moment, because it was a very delicate moment where I was just open to the ecstatic nature of existence.
Yeah, absolute expansion.
And then, of course, I always wanted to get back to that moment. So some of the driving force of being a seeker was to reclaim that inner ecstasy. And I think that happens to many people, because basically we're born as a clean slate. We're born to be in love and ecstasy, and then we start getting conditioned, programmed, and gradually we suppress our innate being of bliss.
Yeah.
And so then we have to go on a journey to reclaim it. And part of that means releasing the trauma, and that happens through, of course, emotional release techniques. So when I reached Osho, I literally spent years doing emotional release processes and meditations, and releasing all the trauma from my earlier life.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't even think this event in life, we don't call them trauma. And but they are, because at that level of expansion, to find the contraction there, that becomes a belief system, that then I'm not to go there anymore. And I found these are also the most difficult trauma to release, because sometimes when they're quite obvious, if there is an action of violence or war, they're clearly definable, that there was that trauma. But these events sometimes, they're difficult to trace back, because apparently it wasn't a big deal. It was just the brother say, hey, go back inside. But for a little one, that was enormous. And
because that was maybe the first time I experienced shame. Like, not that I had shame,
naked nudity.
Like he wasn't an adult, but he was much older than me. That an elder person will tell me this is shameful. Just to be with my naked body as I was born, that there's something wrong with that. So,
and I think pretty much we all receive this. I mean, I always think on, masturbation and babies, how they always have their hand in their genital.
Yes.
And in a sense, it's like, well, this is paradise, and I want to share it with mommy and daddy. It's like, it's amazing from here. So, mommy, daddy, look, join me here. Let's do this together, because I love you. And immediately there is this separation. No, you don't do this together. You don't do this in presence of other. Take your hand away from there. What are you doing? And so the immediacy that also, if we can find some bliss, it's alone, it's by ourselves, that we can't share it with the people that we love the most, our hero. And that's so saddening from, the place of purity of a child. It's strong separation, and then it carries on to the rest of our life when sexuality only gets expressed privately and is associated often with loneliness, and hence pornography, where things, the beauty of life, it's not to be shared, and it's so far away from the potential truth that when we are together is even more beautiful. So you just say now that you call yourself a seeker, and I was actually churning on this thought this morning when I woke up, and I was thinking, what can I ask you when I meet you today? And one question was this about being a seeker, because I define myself as a seeker, and sometimes my seeking is my greatest source of sorrow. I feel like I look too hard, and I put so much energy in the seeking, which creates the distance, as if what I'm seeking is out there. And when I see you, you feel so fulfilled and complete, and I would like to know, are you still a seeker? Would you call yourself a seeker, or you have arrived?
Well, I would say to be healthy means to be whole. So I have found wholeness. And at the same time, this wonderful curiosity about life is ever alive. And I think that's one of the secrets of youthing, actually, that you're always ready to learn new things, to discover something. And So
curiosity,
and that also gives rise to more creativity. It's an evolutionary dynamic. Evolution of consciousness happens through our being willing to engage in life and learn every moment. So even though I am in a state of wholeness, that wholeness is always ready to learn and to
an expansive wholeness.
But I remember, like, in that state of not being fulfilled, and that thirst and hunger to attain something, that is not there now. That's been many years. And Osho describes the path very, very beautifully. When he talked about his own enlightenment, he talked about Buddha's enlightenment. And I was very touched by the story about Buddha, that Buddha tried everything before he was Buddha when he was Gautama. So he was exploring all different kind of methodologies. He was an ascetic, he did yoga, he did everything. And he was fasting, and eventually he was close to death from fasting. He was just a skeleton. He was in the water, and he had not enough strength even to take himself out onto the bank. And then came a deep realization that he's reached the end of the road in terms of seeking. And he simply let go. He let go of the seeker. And he just surrendered. And in that moment, a woman came, a village woman, and she brought him food. So he had been fasting, he hadn't eaten, he was surviving on 3 grains of rice per day or something like that. So he was trying to discover what is the minimum amount he could eat. And then this woman brought him food, and because he was in such a let go, he nourished himself, he nourished his body. And then he felt tremendous surges of bliss in his body to receive this nourishment. And he slept very, very peacefully with nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to attain. He had dropped out of the race of becoming. And that is when his enlightenment happened. He woke up somewhere around 4 in the morning, and he opened himself completely to the Absolute. And he attained enlightenment. But the point of the story is that he had gone into a deep let go before that happened. And when Osho describes his own enlightenment, the same thing happened. He was in a deep let go. He had tried everything. He had made huge efforts, like superhuman efforts. And then he was just in a deep, deep, deep let go. And that's when it happened for him. So he's giving this as a criteria that this is how the enlightenment experience happens actually. That first we make all efforts we can, and when we've reached to the ultimate possibility and we can't go any further through effort, and we drop it, we let go, that's when grace descends. This is when the miracle happens. So this happened to me also in the same way. I wasn't an ascetic, but I was seeking through every way possible, like doing superhuman efforts.
I mean, going to India, hitch-hiking.
I did everything that anybody could possibly imagine, and much more than that. And so this is an interesting realization when you are contemplating life as a seeker.
Where were you in your 50s? I just turned 50 this year, and I feel I'm into this threshold also where I'm getting really tired of seeking, and I've done a lot of seeking in my life too. Curious to know if you remember your 50s and what was happening for you.
At the age of 50, I remember I was starting my menopausal process. So I decided I'm going to make this a rite of passage, and I went to swim with dolphins. And previously I had been afraid of swimming in deep ocean, so that was something I'd never done. So I wanted to give myself a challenge, and at the same time fulfill a longing that I'd had my whole life, which was to commune with dolphins live, in their environment. So I went on a journey. It's called Wild Quest. It's an organization called Wild Quest, run by Osho sannyasins.
Okay.
And I went to the Bahamas and I spent a week there. And we went out every day to the deep ocean. And then they would play the music of Deva Pramal or music of Hari Prasad Chaurasia. And the dolphins would come. Wild dolphins would be attracted.
Wow.
And then once dolphins were there, then we could decide if we are going to swim with them or not by one person going into the water and see if the dolphins are ready to play. And if they're ready to play, then all 15 of us could go into the water. And I remember the feeling of immense joy, the transmission of pure joy coming from those dolphins. Pure joy and love. And I jumped in the water and I felt like I could swim to the ends of the earth to be with these incredible beings. It was so incredible. They really became a kind of guru for me. And such an incredibly beautiful, blissful experience. So that was my rite of passage into menopause. And I won't say it was without any suffering, because I did have suffering. I was going through the Chiron return, which is an astrological configuration where there can be tremendous challenges. So I faced huge challenges. I was breaking up from a relationship of 12 years in this period, and it was a very, very powerful rite of passage, not only in joy, but also in challenges, in sorrow and desperation. And
I feel that too.
And coming out the other side.
You give me hope.
And I just like to say something for our sisters who might be going through menopause, that the way I could come over the physical difficulties, I went for acupuncture and I received 2 acupuncture sessions and 1 month of herbs, and then that cured completely the hot flashes.
Okay.
Before I was having hot flashes, night sweats, and after just 1 month of this 2-session acupuncture, 1 month of Chinese herbal medicine, my hot flashes were over, my energy level stabilized, I felt amazing. So, but I only discovered that halfway through my menopausal transition.
Yeah, I think acupuncture is very powerful.
And so I can really recommend that to sisters who are going through this process and finding it challenging.
For me, I don't find a lot of physical symptoms. I'm fine. It's just emotionally. Sometimes I feel I'm really the end of my rope. I don't know who I am anymore. Everything I've done until this moment, I feel I'm done with. I'm kind of bored with myself, my life, my ways. And that's all I know. So there is also this tremendous fear, the desire of wanting to let go, but the fear, because it's also all I really know. And as much as I say I want to make love to the unknown, it's actually quite scary. The absolute unknown is terrifying.
So the thing is, around 49, 50, many people will go into what is called Chiron return. And you might remember when you were 28 years old, some huge upheaval that would have happened with Saturn return around 28, 29.
Yeah.
So Chiron return is even more powerful, and that comes around this time of menopause and menopause.
Yeah.
Because men also go through.
Absolutely.
And so I can recommend to go to an astrologer and let them tell you when that Chiron return will be completed.
Okay.
And then that gives some hope at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
Because the Chiron return is very, very challenging. It can be even devastating.
Yeah.
Because it's taking away everything that you thought you were and giving you something new, which is going to be more in tune with your soul calling.
Yeah.
And that can be quite, a very, very powerful, challenging process. It's basically helping you to move into an ascension process, because as we get older, we literally ascend. And if we're used to just being only on the earth, and that can be frightening also, because we feel we're becoming more weightless.
Yeah, that's true. There is that.
And then the earthly passions, they don't have as much pull. And if we want to go into earthly passions, we literally need to direct our energy there. It's like you're a balloon floating up, and you say, okay, now balloon, I want to come back to the earth. I want to experience earthly passions, so let me come down. And then, you have to bring your balloon down.
Yeah.
And then you can enjoy. So you can enjoy your full range of sexual passion and everything. But it's not going to have the same robust, earthy quality as before, where you were pulled by your biology into that reproductive, instinctual desire. Because now it's no longer an instinctual need. It's more of a pleasure potential that we have inside, and we can tap into it or not as we like.
Yeah.
Something
and
like
more
this.
soul fulfilling. I noticed that now, when I was young, my mother was 44, and I thought she already had stopped having sex. She was old at 44. And when I was young, I thought sex is a thing that belongs to the youth. Yeah. And now I realize, gosh, little did I know, and how sexuality intensified with the year, and how deeper are my orgasm now, and more spiritual and more profound. And although there isn't this physical pull, there is almost more of a transcendental pull.
Like a spiritual
pull. A resource, like a real place to meet source, where I go to connect with God and resource from there.
Yes, this is actually very, very true, what you're expressing. It's absolutely the way it is. And we can really use these later years to develop tantric capabilities. And of course, Tantra is good for people at any age of their adult life, but it's really profound as you age, because you can still have the most mind-blowing lovemaking experiences, and included in that will be communion with Source, with all that is. You can have cosmic orgasms, not only physical.
Yes.
So this is really incredible. And just while we're on the physicality, I just like to point out that Masters and Johnson, in their groundbreaking research into human sexuality, they were doing research on women's orgasmic potential, and they found out that women can have multiple orgasms into their 90s. So it's not that just because of menopause we stop having orgasms. We are capable of full orgasmic joy and splendor even in our later years, and the only problem might be, can you find a partner to enjoy that with? Because as men get older, they lose the testosterone gradually. Like, testosterone is very high in the teenage years of a man, and then once he's in his 20s, it will very gradually diminish over time. So the way for men to find fulfillment in their sexuality in later years will be by practicing Tantra, including conservation of semen methods. And this is vital for a man as he ages, and if he does that, he will be able to have incredible orgasmic and joyful sexual experiences also into his old age. So I think it's really important that men learn Tantra already from a young age, and you start developing your capability of lasting longer, of finding other ways of enjoying pleasure and inner ecstasy, not only through ejaculation. And then this is going to be serving you very well as you age. Of course, it will also serve you in your younger years, because you're going to be a better lover if you practice Tantra.
Absolutely, more present, and
more present,
connected with everything, and including sexuality into the dance of life, and not make it just a small aspect. So I just want to follow up a little bit from the marriage that you had in with Osho at the ashram. How long were you married? I just make this assumption. You're not married with the same man now.
we were together for 5 years, and it was an incredibly beautiful relationship. I'm in deepest gratitude to my ex-husband, and we are friends, and it was just such a blessing. He was twice my age when we met, and so he really helped me to learn how to trust men and how to achieve maximum pleasure, joy, and in all dimensions, sexual and spiritual. So he was the most amazing, beautiful companion, lover, and husband. Yeah.
Was your initiator.
Yes.
You know, it's like, I think sexually, this is important, tribal society, to be initiated sexually by an elder from both gender. It's really important if it's done consciously, because then we meet someone that truly knows. When we are initiated, we need to be with someone that already knows whatever is the theme of the initiation. And I think in contemporary time we clash with two youngsters together, not knowing, both not knowing, and sometimes it's a painful clash. And so also for young men, I think it's important for them to be sexually initiated by elder women.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because a woman reaches her peak of her sexuality around the age of 30, and the peak of the male sexuality, if we're talking about the testosterone and the hormones that want to boost our libido, this happens for men in their late teenage years. So it's ideal for a man in his late teenage years to be together with a woman around 30.
Yeah.
Then he can learn how to sexually blossom and open.
Yeah.
And it's ideal for a young woman who is not yet sexually blossomed. She's more in a tender space, and she needs actually some kind of understanding, patience, guidance to be with a little bit older man. I'm not saying old man, but a little bit older enough that he can hold space for her to discover her full range of capabilities.
Yeah, that she can trust, that she can rest into.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just wrote also this, that your relationship ended because some people, there's also this idea of the sacredness of relationship, that to break it or come apart, there is somehow, it's a failure. And or a marriage without children, it's a failure. And I believe there are no failure in life, that everything is a journey. And I think we fail ourselves when we stay in relationships that don't fulfill us any longer. And so...
Yeah, to me, love is an experiment. And when we go on different kinds of journeys into love and in relationship, we're actually doing a love experiment. And that's according to your soul calling, because somebody was having certain kinds of past life experience, and then in this life they have a yearning for this particular path. So maybe somebody was celibate in their past life, so in this life they're yearning to explore with multiple different partners. Or somebody else, maybe they were exploring with multiple partners in a past life, now they want to be only with one partner. Or somebody else feels a call for celibacy. And sometimes in one lifetime, we might need to go through many different phases of love experiments. Sometime being with multiple partners, another time being in a deeply monogamous relationship, maybe another time we explore celibacy. So, and also we have different kind of karmic relationships. So maybe we need to reconnect with a particular soul that we had met before, and we need to live something out with them. And then when the lesson has been learned, when the karma is complete, we're ready to move on. So we shouldn't judge the book by its cover, we could say.
Yeah.
Like all of these different kind of experiments are vital and unique to each being. And we need to really honor and trust what is uniquely our love experiment in this moment. And this is something I really appreciated in Osho's community, because people were free to do all these different kind of experiments. So you
Yeah.
had some people into celibacy, some people into monogamy, some people into open relationship, some people were just playing and exploring,
Yeah.
and all of that was okay. And it was held always in the context of meditation. And this is the difference that makes
Yes.
all the difference, that as you apply meditation to whatever you're involved in, you will find the deeper and exalted quality within that you're experimenting with.
And then also when the meditation ends, it's like the relationship ends, it's just
Yes.
the end of the meditation, and you may be ready to the next level, to the advanced meditation.
Yes.
Maybe.
So, for example, my feeling is that lovers come and go, but love remains and goes on growing. Because we imagine, okay, if this lover goes, they are taking that love with them. No, they're not taking it with them. You have the love, you've experienced this love. It's become a resource inside of you, it is yours. So don't think because the other one goes that the love is going. You have that, and it's a very rich resource inside of your whole being. And so as you go into different relationships, you are gathering different facets of the love experience. And that becomes ingrained and an integral part of who you are.
Yeah.
And so I'm incredibly grateful to all of my love experiments, to all of my lovers, and different kinds of relationship dynamics that I've been exploring. It's just the most blissful gift to realize that this is truly my own experiment. That's one thing. I
Yeah.
take responsibility for what I've been experiencing, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I've learned from that, and now these lessons are part of me.
Yeah. And are you currently in a relationship right
Yes, yes.
now? And did you ever had children in your
No,
life?
I never had children because being a very thirsty seeker, I wanted to prioritize my spiritual path.
Yeah.
And so that was a conscious choice I made. And yeah.
That also makes you more available for the work, to offer more of yourself in all the teaching that you do also.
Yeah, I would say that I'm actually a mother with massive amount of children.
Yes, exactly. Ma Ananda Sarita, in fact. Ma stands for mother.
Yeah, Ma stands for, Osho describes it as mother of the universe.
Yeah, definitely. You feel like that. And so I just want to now bring this to some closure, wrap it up. Thank you for all that you share. I love the love experiment. I think I might title this podcast The Love Experiment. Do you what do you do for sustaining your physical health? For me, you're aging so gracefully. You are a tremendous source of inspiration, and I want to share this with whoever is listening, because we were chatting briefly before the interview started. I feel very attracted by Ma as a sensual woman. That is not done up, because in our contemporary world there is such fear of aging gracefully, and there is such a longing for youth, that I often come across women that are all done up with plastic surgery, or women that just age in the shadow and we don't see them anymore. And like this idea I also had, that my mother was old, in her mid-40. I remember a picture of my grandmother in her 50, and she was definitely not a sexual being any longer. And it's terrifying now when I think I am in my 50, and sex is such a resource in my life. I couldn't imagine living without this resource. And so I want to age like you. I'm feeling so inspired. Tell me if you have any secret. It's like, do you have daily practice? Or you just let it all go and just flow with life, however it presents to you? What keeps you curious in life? And
well, I do what I'm in love with.
Mm-hmm.
So I love yoga. I do yoga and silent meditation every morning, and this is incredibly nurturing for me. And I've been vegetarian since 1973, since I reached India, and then vegan since about 95. And it wasn't something that I decided with my mind, it was a happening. It just happened to me. And I've also been into holistic healing since about, I think it was, since around 94, 95. No, actually before that, since 1990, I've been into holistic healing. So I let go of the conventional style of medicine. And I learned a very beautiful practice which is called color light therapy. So I studied with the founder of esoteric medicine. He was the inventor of what is known as color puncture. I studied with him for 7 years. I also studied itothermy with a Japanese master. This is another healing modality. So I studied with him for 20 years. I studied Takian holistic wellness with David Wagner, the inventor of the Takianization process. And I apprenticed with him for 9 years. So I really have been diving deeply into holistic healing. And I maintain my health also by using these modalities. Also, I do regular Ayurvedic panchakarma. So to date, I've done approximately 7 panchakarmas. This is 28 days where you immerse yourself in cleansing, purging, healing, and rejuvenation.
How regularly do you do this? The panchakarma?
Usually every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do that, and I think this makes a huge difference, and I would encourage people to really study and embrace Ayurveda. It is truly the most potent form of medicine that I know of in today's world. It was developed thousands of years ago by a group of rishis, and they wanted to find the best way that human beings could maintain their health with themselves, by themselves. So they defined all the structures and processes of Ayurveda, and also designed clinics where people could go. And there were some kingdoms in India where the Ayurveda was freely available to people. They didn't have to pay. Whenever they felt out of sorts, they would just go and receive treatments.
Because also the philosophy of Ayurveda is to bring back balance.
Yeah,
it's not to fix.
It's a preventative medicine, basically.
Yes.
And I believe that Hippocrates, the founder of what we say is the father of modern medicine, that he was actually working according to Ayurvedic principles.
Yeah.
He was giving this quote, as above, so below, as within, so without, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Yeah.
So these are all Ayurvedic principles, and he worked also with the elements as they're reflected in the human body. So even though he's known as the father of modern medicine is not following what he was teaching, actually.
Yes, it became interesting when you say Hippocrates, to me came the word hypocrisy. Like how now modern medicine.
So anyhow, I believe it's very good to go back to our roots in terms of medicine. Also Chinese medicine is just simply miraculous and mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And for example, in ancient times in Chinese medicine, doctors used to prescribe sexual practices for healing, because we have acupressure points on the lingam that match acupressure points in the yoni, and by plugging in with our partner, we're actually doing healing and adding.
Yes, I did read this.
It's a kind of medicinal
particular
process.
sexual position.
Yes.
To heal particular ailments.
Yes. So this is so beautiful, and also in those days the doctors only charge the person when they are healthy, because they're doing preventative medicine. So the patient would pay a regular stipend to the doctor, like a small stipend, to keep them healthy. And if they got sick, they didn't have to pay the doctor. So this is exactly the reverse of how we do it now.
Yes.
So the doctors were concerned with keeping the patients healthy.
Yes.
Because the moment they got sick, they didn't get any more money.
Exactly.
So, I think this should be brought into our medical
Yeah.
systems all over the world, because that's the only sane way to approach it, actually.
Exactly. Then it's I'm thinking of one of my teachers that always say that Ayurveda is the Tantra of medicine,
Yeah.
is the true essence, and we're doing it all the opposite way, like with sexuality.
Yeah.
We the mainstream is the opposite of how it's meant to be, and with
So-
medicine as well.
And what I believe is that in ancient times, Tantra, Ayurveda, and Yoga, they were branches from the same tree of life.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a system for how can we live the most fulfilled life possible in all different dimensions. So then these different branches were established to help people attain that.
Yeah.
And so if we can again discover yoga, tantra, and Ayurveda as integral part of our life, we will be radiantly healthy.
Yeah, radiantly alive. Like you are. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarita, for spending this time and sharing your erotic wisdom with everybody that wants to listen, particularly me.
Yeah, it's been
And,
lovely to connect.
Yeah, and I wish you all the best. And you can, I'm going to type the link for Sarita Links. Tantra Essence is a festival that is happening right now.
Yeah, today is the last day. You can still jump in.
Jump in. And but you also have a website, and you do a lot of teaching. You're really, really available, and so I hope people take the opportunity.
I also have online courses, so you're welcome to do any of my online courses, and then you'll understand how I work, and you'll be benefited by doing the online course. And then you can see if there's a live course you can do with either me or someone from my team.
Yes,
because I work with a team of people.
Yeah, you've got a big school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Namaste.
Blessings and love.